I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
That's right.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay.
Mm.
You're leaving for Venice tomorrow.
Yes, Italy, not the beach.
It's not a direct flight.
No. Well, actually, I think it might be.
Is there a Venice airport?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
You fly into Venice and then I take a boat for a damn near an hour and a half to the stop I need to go to.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Well, do enjoy.
Well.
So what's going on? JLo files for divorce from Ben Affleck. It's funny because people are just speculating. Like, these people didn't say why they're getting divorced, but I was reading that
These people.
People, these tabloids that are blogs, whatever we call them, that say that, people close to the couple are saying that their rekindling is more of like an infatuation. Yep. I think that's obvious to everyone that the honeymoon phase didn't last long. Yep. Can see that too. And that Ben didn't like how public she was. That's the craziest part to me, because everyone knows. Everyone except that man who lives in JLo's old house who didn't know who she was. Everyone else knows that this lady likes to be very public.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she'll go to Zara's. Why? I don't know.
Yeah. So I just find it odd that another like A-list person, like celebrity, would be so. I mean, it's different. Like when she got with those regular, not as rich as her people. I could see how maybe they were taken aback by how controlling and how involved her life is.
Sure.
But Ben Affleck is a big deal.
Yeah.
He's not new. Like, how did he not know? Well, she was going to be a problem.
Do you remember she canceled her tour because of the relationship hemorrhaging?
Wow, but really it's because not due to popular demand.
Well, yeah, but again, it was like that. You canceled that to work on your relationship. I guess not very much, and then she did that raggedy ass movie that we dragged for Phil a couple months ago, where she's in love with love. I mean, all of that looks. It just makes her look.
Well, speaking about
stupid.
that, we were talking because I was saying that I not to question people's parenting or anything, but it just seems kind of odd. Like, she has kids. What are her kids going to think about their mom
and relationships?
Constantly talking about how. I mean, she has a song where the lyrics like, "I wish you were my first love, because if you were my first love, there wouldn't be a second, third, or fourth." Like, I mean, it's just.
Well, she's never been. The lyrical content's always been.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, imagine your mom is known. And maybe that is just, I mean, maybe the gag of the century will be that she's actually like a really simple, down to earth lady. And all of this was just her public persona. I doubt that. And I just wonder, even if it isn't all true, how hard would it be for like as these kids grow up to think like that's our mom, and that our mom prioritized like all these bullshit ass projects and like this dumbass relationship over wanting to, like, again, not questioning her parenting. I don't know. Maybe her kids are with her 24/7 and she's actually spends more time with her kids than the cafeteria lady. I don't know, but don't you think that's weird? Like, what if your mom were known?
Well,
I'd be like, if your mom was Heidi Fleiss and you just know, like, my mom was known for hoeing. Like, I don't know.
Well, Heidi might have had a better time before her legal
maybe
predicament.
Actually,
but I don't know. I guess she reads to me as somebody that is not good at dealing with things when they get difficult, perhaps. But because that's what marriage is. But and I don't know, why does she even marry these men? Why can't she just? Yeah,
no one thinks that she should wear white on her wedding day. I don't know why you need to. And you also have all of the money. Why? Yeah, why? Like you said, why not just, if you're so in love with love, why not just connect with people in an organic way and let it run its course, and then there's no hard feelings, move on. Like,
do yourself like that sweet November scenario. I guess she's throwing on them Louboutins again. I don't know.
Anyway, people were asking us about the Joaquin Phoenix,
Oh
Todd Haynes
God.
stuff, and I was reading some stuff regarding this situation, which is also kind of similar to the JLo stuff in that it's all speculation. The Todd Haynes production hasn't commented, Joaquin hasn't commented. So it's, like the one article I read from the Hollywood Reporter is basically like talking to Hollywood insiders about what they think about it. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, who even knows? But
Well, as we're going off is that tweet from Christine Vachon, the producer.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But for people who don't know, 5 days before production was supposed to start, Joaquin backed out of this Todd Haynes movie that's supposed to be like a pretty intense, like 1930s gay love story,
That they keep saying it's an NC. The movie hasn't been made yet, and they're already
giving it a rating.
NC-17 rating. Okay,
But I think trying to emphasize that it was going to go there. And
explicit.
Joaquin was going to star opposite Danny Ramirez.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to be this gay couple. And apparently Joaquin got cold feet. But then everyone's like, but how can that be? Because he's the one who brought this story to the producers. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently he's done.
Apparently, he tries to back out of things
Because
though,
like for Napoleon,
and
he
Joker.
he threatened to back out unless Paul Thomas Anderson could punch up the script, which I
Mm-hmm.
find funny.
Well,
But
I guess he tried.
but then Joaquin has a lot of pull because
Well, he's an Oscar winner now,
and the Joker made $1 billion,
and the sequel is about to.
and then like he pulled that stunt with that one movie where he pretended to be a rapper, but then he ended up getting an Oscar for that, didn't he?
No, he only has one Oscar.
Oh, so he was nominated for The Master, I think.
The Master, that Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah. So I mean, he's clearly like whatever, all his bullshit works because he's critically acclaimed or in successful movie,
Yeah.
in a very successful movie, that the sequel will certainly be successful. But I have a lot of questions because I was reading, people are saying like, oh, because the filming was supposed to take place in Guadalajara, Mexico, and like the people were already out there, like production people, like work had started.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't there be insurance on the production if it's already started in the event that something halts production? So it's not like, so I have these kind of questions. Like, let's not act like everyone's out, like all these people flew down to Mexico and are not getting paid, or
Or well, it's an indie film. They might only get a percentage of what they would have received. I mean, or what if somebody's working for the first time and now they don't get the credit because
sure. I mean, there clearly it's not ideal that a production gets halted like that. But I have a lot of questions, and I feel like a lot of the hoopla surrounding this story is like he doesn't want to play this gay character, but he didn't say that. No one's saying that.
yeah,
It's just people shocked that he did it. But I also don't trust anything. I feel like it's all marketing. Like they like there's a valid reason why he dropped out, but they're going to let it play out this way, and maybe he's allowing that to happen to give the project some extra shine, so that maybe next year when he does film it, it'll be that much bigger. I don't know. But then I was reminded of Kim Basinger
uh-huh.
because she got in trouble for leaving a movie,
Yeah, it was Boxing Helena.
and she got sued and was ordered to pay a lot of money, and then that got reversed, and then she ended up settling for like a portion of that. But that was also during that time where she had bought that city or that town,
And Boxing Helena is a terrible film, but very fun to watch. Directed by David Lynch's daughter.
But then I didn't know this, that Bruce Willis had dropped out of a Disney project, something called the Broadway Brawler,
Oh,
and he got in. I don't know. Like apparently Disney went light on him and basically made him agree to do 3 Disney movies at below his market rate.
oh, is that what that must have been in the late 90s, early 2000s.
And so it really did. I mean, it worked out well for Disney because the 2 of those 3 projects were Armageddon and The Sixth Sense.
Oh,
And I
okay.
don't know if he got like points on the project or he literally just got paid ass and watched these movies become huge hits, and that was his punishment. I don't know, but it's I am not that interested in this situation. I would be curious to know like ultimately we find out that maybe he had some health issues and it was legitimate. Like he
Mm.
called out sick to work, and that's what insurance is for. And
Well, I don't
so,
know. I'm assuming he's going to be in Venice next week.
well, and then yeah, he shows up in Venice just fine.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, I really like Todd Haynes. I mean, we both loved his last film, specifically May December. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I bet, because now the rumor is that they're trying to tap Pedro Pascal to step in,
Oh,
who's also very busy. Um,
I'm busy.
he is. He's in that Mandalorian and Grogu film, I think that's supposed to be filming, which I still am not sure if Sigourney's in that, but whatever.
We were driving home yesterday from recording a YouTube video on someone else's channel.
Hmm.
And as we were driving home, we saw Keith David
Walking down the road.
walking down the road looking at the things.
Oh, I made eye contact with him, and then he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I was." You could tell he was like, "Oh, I wasn't trying to be recognized."
But he walked into a building very close to our home called Themeli Arts, which is like a rehearsal space.
Hmm.
But I thought that was really cool. But
Yeah.
I wanted to mention just because I like Keith David and it was
Mhm.
fun seeing him out in nature. But his Instagram handle is Silver Throat. And someone needs to
Okay.
uh, let him know that he needs to change that because I know he has the voice. Like
Yeah,
he's known
that's
for the voice,
why.
but Silver Throat is just not. It's
Well,
just not.
in a different context, might be advertising something
I
else.
don't think that that's an appropriate handle for him. They need to switch it up to something like Keith David, the voice, or that should be his handle, or the voice KD. Anyway, moving on to the restaurant section, I wanted to mention that because last time we talked about how you ordered some raw duck, and then oops, you did it again.
It wasn't duck.
We were at a restaurant called Chubby Curry, which I really like, and it's near a couple of the screening rooms in Beverly Hills. And
Hmm.
there's really surprisingly very easy parking in Beverly Hills,
Hmm.
like in a garage that's free.
Although that somebody messed up their car as we were leaving
Oh
and
yeah, as we were arriving or leaving,
leaving.
as we were leaving, we heard like a commotion, and then we saw some people kind of drive erratically in this very tight parking
Structure.
structure. And so as we're leaving, because even I, with my immaculate driving skills, even I sometimes I'm like, I'm having a hard time backing into these spots. I mean, it's not a hard time. I get it done first try, but I
Mm.
can imagine for some people it is too tight in there. But we saw this poor kid, and I'm assuming his little girlfriend
Hmm.
driving their like 99 Honda Accord coupe, and clearly he had hit something, and he looks so upset.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the back door was crumpled.
Do you remember your first? Well, I think I know what your first sort of accident was. Was it with your dad's truck?
Oh, well, yeah, that's going way. Yeah, my dad, when I was 14, I just assumed you were driving with your friends. No. And he had his big extended cab Dodge 4x4 pickup.
A Dodge Ram.
Dodge. We were out on some country road. I was, I didn't get like 3 yards and we were in the ditch.
Oops! Here we are.
Oh my! But I mean, that man has no business teaching anybody. I mean, he was screaming at me.
Well, you're very sensitive.
Well,
Um, my first accident was in my very first car, and my first car was a manual transmission. And I had been driving. My dead uncle taught me how, and my dad sometimes taught me
while he was alive, though.
while he was alive. Yeah, yeah. The spirit of my dead uncle and my deadbeat dad, when I was 13, taught me how to drive because my mom, who still was an undocumented resident of the United States, didn't have a driver's license.
Hmm.
So and the only car that we had in the family was a manual. So he thought that in case of an emergency, I should be able to drive this car. So I knew how to drive a stick for like 2.5, 3 years before I actually got my own car as a 16-year-old. But I was driving through the Target parking lot in Moreno Valley, California, and I'm like in the front, like where people walk out of the front door, and I'm driving my car, And for anyone who drives a manual transmission, you know that, you're the worst thing that could happen is popping the clutch or getting stuck on a really steep hill trying to move forward. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
here I am 16 and I just got this car and I'm in front of the Target and I was stopped and then getting ready to move forward. And then this kid runs out of the store. And then I guess I panicked and then popped the clutch. And when you pop the clutch, the car lunges forward. So I hit this kid and knocked him down. And I mean, luckily for me, the mom was one of those moms who was like, "See, I told your ass not to run out here. This
Yeah.
is why you got hit by a car." And he wasn't hurt. Like he wasn't injured, but it did knock him down. But luckily for me, the mom took it as more like a lesson for him. Like, you need to be careful. But that was the first time I hit something in my car.
Mm-hmm. And it scarred you.
But I got way off track because the point of the story was we went to Chubby Curry in Beverly Hills, which I really like. And Nick ordered something new on the menu because the other things you've ordered you liked.
Yeah.
But you ordered this Wagyu beef like bowl and the picture, and this is a nicer like restaurant, but it was like their special they were advertising and a picture of it was on the table. And the picture, the meat looks raw and the egg looks raw to me. I mean, it looks like one of those eggs that like gets poached.
It was poached.
But
yeah.
if you poke it, it would just run out. And they brought that plate to you and I felt bad because your dumb ass once again didn't ask about your food. And I ordered the same thing every time, which is like this. How would you describe it? It's like
a curry soup, but on a plate.
But it's a really interesting presentation because it's a huge plate that's filled with curry, really tasty curry, and with like potatoes and carrots. And then they have this wire mesh like platform that sits on top of the curry with a huge piece of like fried breaded chicken. And that chicken's always right. And then they give you a separate bowl of rice. So I always order that because I know I'm going to like it. So I got my plate first and started to eat a bit. I think maybe you had taken a little small bite, and then they bring your shit. And just on site, you looked so disappointed. That meat was raw.
It was.
And then when you pop that yolk, well,
it's like
it was like egg soup.
Because it was over rice, and the rice was not. It was not warm.
So there was no chance that, because sometimes like with ramen, if like the hot broth will cook the egg.
Yeah.
But that shit they gave you, there was no chance of anything being warm.
So it was R2D too much.
And you looked so disappointed.
But I tried. I ate 2 of the slices of the raw meat, and then I just couldn't. I couldn't. So I took it home and I cooked it.
Yeah, you fried up. You basically made fried rice.
I did, and then I ate that shit for lunch the next day, and then I had
bubble guts.
Bubble guts, not bad bubble guts, but it was clear that things were shifting. The climate was changing.
This is why I stick to the things I know. Like,
no, I still like to try new things, but
you need to be better. Well, you also you're very much like how in the old sitcoms, like how they would say men or comedians would say men don't want to ask for directions. That's you. Like, you're very like, I can figure things out on my own. Yes. I'm not going to ask anyone because maybe it's weak to have questions. I don't understand what's happening. But you need to start, because me, I'll ask, like, how is that egg prepared? We're going to need to make sure that's fried hard. I don't want, I'm very clear. Like, I do not want a runny yolk.
But I'm not innately picky, and I do agree with like what was the dish intended to be.
I don't think you're picky, and I think you do like to try new things, so that's definitely not your problem. But I just think you've been burned so many times, like either you don't ask how much stuff costs, and then I feel like everyone thinks I'm cheap, but it's like I'm not gonna pay $40 for some duck and then you bring out one little wing. No, like, I'm not
a raw wing,
like a raw wing. I'm not doing that. So, I mean, I asked not because I'm cheap or difficult. I asked because I hate paying for something I don't like.
I do too.
I hate it.
But again, I don't know. I don't like it beforehand sometimes, and that's life. But I just, yeah, I was because that raw duck story from when I was in Minnesota, I ate all that duck.
Yeah.
But
Well, you tried to eat. You ate like, well, poor thing. You mixed up. You broke the yolk
mhm,
because I think you thought, oh, if I mix everything together, maybe it'll cook it. But the temperature of everything was very low, so
mhm,
then it just looked like
mm.
the world's nastiest rice pudding. I don't.
Well, I was just like, God, why am I not vegan?
I know. And then it's like sometimes when I eat meat, it grosses me out.
Yeah.
But then it's just so good. I don't know what to do.
Well, to be fair, we don't really eat that much meat.
Well, certainly not red meat,
Well, very rarely. Like
but
the only time we really eat red meat is if we get an actual burger somewhere.
yeah, it's very rare that we order steak or. But anyway, um, we reviewed the movie Strange Darling
Hmm.
about a serial killer that has a big old twist. And for people who are not familiar with the the twist and want to see the movie, you should fast forward now. But uh, so here's the spoiler of that movie. The twist is that I'm still giving people time because I'm still burned off of ruining Long Legs in the Trap review.
Hmm.
So alert number 2, 3. Um, the movie Strange Darling is about a serial killer, and it's set up like the man is the serial killer, but it's really the woman.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Okay.
we got comments like, "How come we never question who the male serial killers are?" And or why are they this way? And I don't know if these comments are directed towards us or Hollywood. I don't know who y'all are talking to, but I I always want to know why the killer's killing. I don't. It
I
doesn't
feel
matter if it's male or female.
I feel like we are we're pretty consistent about if there's no interiority to a character, I prefer to have that, and that would be a psychological template to explain somebody's behavior.
But I feel like Hollywood in general. I mean, every documentary, every true crime thing, we're always examining why this person did what they did. People want to know.
That's why FBI profilers have a
So
job.
I mean, I normally don't. I don't respond to every kind of comment I don't like, but that one I thought was kind of crazy. I mean, unless I'm totally ignorant and most people feel this way, but I think whenever we hear stories about serial killers, we are very curious about. I mean, that's why we don't like movies or documentaries about serial killers where they focus on the victims. Like that Nightcrawler series on Netflix, we didn't
Mhm.
like because it was like, well, they spent too much time on the victims. We want to know about the killer
Well,
who
yeah,
was
we
male.
have a lurid fascination
Yeah, it's
culturally.
morbid and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because really we should be honoring the victims. But so I think the opposite is true. And then even for the most basic slasher film, we always know why they're doing it. Jason Voorhees was drowned by some bullies, and now he's back to kill anybody who's at this damn camp. Like you in Strange Darling, we don't get any context as to why this lady is killing these
Well,
people.
the tiniest bit.
While she says when she sees people, she sees demons,
But she's also taking drugs,
but she's
which
also on drugs, and then she also seems to like BDSM type situations.
Les
So
Ludacris saying rough sex make it hurt,
so I would assume that that's part of like maybe she had been violated before and but then it's also like I don't want to make those assumptions that just because a woman is doing this that it's related to her being violated. Maybe she's just a monster who like is just sick in the head. But which is fine too, but I don't think it's unique to female characters to want to know why they killed 17 people or some shit. I think we would want to know anyone who does that, why did they do it?
well, we you referenced the inner violent nature, and I think that was also kind of what made me bored with that film. It's just mindless killing without any kind of context.
Well, we do learn why he did it is that something happened to him and then they buried
Oh
because he
yeah,
was
yeah,
like a
yeah,
firefighter's
sure.
son or something and they threw his ass off the thing and buried him there and there was some little trinket on a thing and someone removed it and
That's
that
right, and
yeah, so even like
woke
the
him up.
most basic slasher, that's what I mean. Like we do know. So I don't know why it's weird to ask why this lady's killing when even like non-human characters we get some non-human supernatural male killers we we still get a little like origin story. So anyway, it's not that big of a deal. I just don't want to be seen like I don't like I have this
that you're
unfair
misogynist.
expectation of like female characters. But moving
Yeah.
on to Sorry to This Man, it's not really an error, but of course, as I want to do, I'll bring up a topic or you'll bring up a topic and I'll say we'll get back to that, and then I don't.
Uh-huh.
But in the movie Blink Twice, there were several comments asking about the lip gloss, because we brought up the lip gloss and then I said
We'll get back to that.
and I didn't.
Uh-huh.
So for people who haven't seen Blink Twice, I guess spoiler. So here's your chance to fast forward a bit. But in that movie, the women who are being brought to the island are being assaulted. And one of the women, when she gets into her very nice villa, bungalow, whatever, there's nothing in the bathroom, like no toiletries except for a lip gloss. And then we learn later in the film that she had been there the year before. So she's been to this island before and been assaulted, but she doesn't remember because of the memory loss drug she's given. But we find out that that lip gloss was actually her lip gloss from her last trip, which is pretty morbid.
Uh-huh.
But
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, but isn't there something else about that review that you wanted to bring up here?
No.
The boas that you said for the
Oh,
snakes?
there was a yeah. People did not like that I had said that the kind of snake
that they're extracting
that
the
is
venom
indigenous to that they're extracting venom from is some type of boa, because boa constrictors are not venomous. They kill their prey by
constricting.
So I only said that because I swore the character said it was some type of boa.
They say,
and I still don't know that that's not true. So I think
Channing Tatum has a direct comment about it, about their pest problem with the snakes. But I don't think he said.
I'm
boa.
fine being wrong, but I mean I don't refer to snakes as boas, and I wrote down boa, so I don't know where I would have gotten that word from. And so maybe the character is wrong. Like maybe the dialogue is wrong in saying that it's a boa, not knowing that boas don't have venom. The line you're referring to is one of the ladies asks Channing Tatum, "Is this a poisonous snake?" And he said it's not poisonous, but it is venomous. Oh, it's Jess's character. She gets bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if maybe they thought it was like because boas, like they didn't know that poisonous and venomous like are interchangeable, maybe. Whatever. Or I could just be wrong. But I did say boa, and if that's not correct, then I was wrong. So sorry to the people who
Sorry to these snakes.
Sorry to the herpetologists out there who
I'm sorry to these reptiles.
Films released we didn't cover. Between the Temples.
This was directed by Nathan Silver, who actually is a really good, really interesting indie film director. I think I've seen his stuff since the beginning, which he usually casts his mother, who's in small roles, who I find very entertaining. But this is with Jason Schwartzman and Carol Kane, and played at Sundance. And it's entertaining. That's all. I enjoyed it enough. I didn't feel like rewatching it, and you weren't interested, so we can cover
Next,
it.
Close Your Eyes.
This is a very odd film, and is the return of director Victor Arice after like 30 years since his last film. He's still best known for Spirited the Beehive, which is, of course, a canonical classic. This is also a film like Beehive, which is fascinated with the art of filmmaking, because it's about this man making a movie that disappears, and it's long and a bit complex, but I'd say you should seek it out. I think Victor Arice got screwed at Cannes that year in 2023 because it should have been in competition, and then they slotted it in this bizarre premieres sidebar. But anyway, that came out.
Greedy People.
This looked I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It's too bad we don't have time for this, but it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Hamish Patel, and it's directed by Potsy Ponsaroli, whose last film, Old Henry, we directed. Do you remember that Western with Tim Blake Nelson?
You said we directed, or you meant we reviewed?
We reviewed, sorry. He directed it, we reviewed
it. The Killer.
Oh, I did watch this.
But you didn't review it.
No, so I like John Woo, and he remade one of his own classics, his international acclaim film was 1989 The Killer.
Well, you're going to talk about this more on Patreon,
Yeah, but
so you can just
save that.
yeah.
Okay.
No need to tire
Oh,
yourself out.
oh, how
Lastly,
kind
the
of you.
Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. What
I,
is that?
I sent you this list.
What?
I sent you this list of films.
That I'm reading off of?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's how I'm reading off of it.
Yeah, but I would
I
decide.
didn't. I don't actually read the titles, so I'm just reading this for the first time, and that sounds interesting.
You don't look at the things that I send you to.
Oh, when you send me the emails asking what I want to watch, yes, I do, but I don't remember this one.
Oh, okay. Well, I was on there. I saw this actually almost exactly a year ago, but it came out on Hulu this weekend. It's kind of like it's directed by Tina Mabry. Great cast, but it's
Oh, that's why Sanaa Lathan has been doing press lately.
yeah.
Probably for this movie.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
But it's kind of like a watered down Waiting to Exhale. But well, it's true. But if you like these women, I highly recommend it. But it's Ingenue Ellis Taylor,
a watered down Waiting to Exhale. What would that be called?
Waiting to Respirate. Waiting to.
No, you can do better than that.
Oh well.
Well, why don't you think about it? Keep going.
Ooh, Uzo
Aduba.
Adubo and Sanaa Lathan are lifelong friends and weather the storm and go and eat at this diner all the time. But
Is there anyone else? Oh, Mekhi Phifer.
Vondi Curtis Hall, I think.
Isn't that who Mondi and Branica were fighting over?
That is. And God, what did I just also watch him in?
He's in the Deliver. No, that's Mike Epps.
That's Mike Epps is not.
In the Deliverance?
Omar.
Mike Epps.
Omar
Epps.
No, what did I just watch Mekhi Phifer where he gets in John Singleton's Shaft.
Ingenue Ellis is in it.
Yeah, I said her.
Julianne McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Vondi Curtis Hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Did you like this movie?
I like these ladies. The movie's okay. But I mean, after that Oscar nod, Ingenue has stayed busy, my lord.
Moving on to projects of interest. Stream.
So I didn't know this. We did a live on Friday. In the comments, somebody mentioned
we made a live review video for Dogville, so people can find it on our YouTube channel.
We learned that Tim Curry is back on the screen, and it's in his first film since 2010, which sounds like it sounds kind of like a B grade horror film that has a lot of horror greats from the 80s that are in the cast, including Dee Wallace, who I also really love. And Tim Curry's participation was secret until it came out yesterday.
Oh, the film came out?
Or it came out Friday, yeah. It's called Stream.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a little interested.
Yeah, I like Tim.
Oh, you know what? I feel so stupid. Someone messaged us on Instagram asking about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that it was out. It's supposed to be like Terrifier?
People at a hotel getting killed.
Oh, I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We'll see what happens next. Cruise.
Tom Cruise is working on a film with Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, who, as a person, I don't seem to care for, but I do really like some of his films.
Inarritu?
Yeah.
What is a movie of his I would know?
The Revenant.
The Revenant. With the bear?
With Leonardo DiCaprio and the bear, yes. Birdman.
Okay.
Mores Perros.
Well, I'm always anxious to see Tommy Boy.
21 Grams. Anyway, yeah, it sounds interesting, and I think it's adding a bunch of people to the cast now. But yeah, that should be interesting.
Non Compo Mentis.
Yeah, Paul Schrader is working on this, which is aiming to film in November, and he also he's already got another film he's lined up after that, apparently called The Basics of Philosophy. So he is staying busy up to the bitter end.
And that's it. Well, on Patreon last week, we reviewed the film Maps to the Stars, starring Julianne Moore.
Yes.
So if people are interested, they can give us $5 a month. There is an entry in the obituary section. Unfortunately, Phil Donahue died.
Oh, that's right. I knew there was somebody who was missing.
It happened. Well, we recorded our last podcast early, so that's why I didn't make last week's list. But Phil Donahue was a big part of my life. He did 29 seasons of the Phil Donahue show.
Mm-hmm.
26 of those were in syndication, which Oprah says, well, Oprah credits Roger Ebert as the person who encouraged her to go into syndication, which ultimately allowed her to make all that damn money.
Mm-hmm.
But she has said that there would be no Oprah without Phil Donahue. I grew up watching Phil Donahue. I have very distinct memories of coming home from school
Oh yeah.
and it being on TV. And actually, the Phil Donahue show is where I learned the word masturbation.
Oh.
Because there was an episode talking about how to talk to your kids about masturbation.
Oh, Phil.
But I always liked Phil Donahue. He seemed like a nice man.
He seemed nice and kind in a way that I remember Geraldo did not, because we also watched him.
No, and Donahue is more progressive than Geraldo,
Geraldo
sure, like
Rivera.
politically and socially.
Yeah.
But and then I forgot that Donahue is married to Marlo Thomas, who everyone will know as the face of St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, always asking for money with that little bitty nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
I remember her.
So then I was like thinking, why is she so involved? But her father, Danny Thomas, who was an entertainer I'm not familiar with, founded St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and that's why she's like the face of it. But she's still alive at 88. I'm sorry, at 84, but Donahue died at 88. After his show ended in the late night, like mid, I think the show ended like when I graduated high school, so it wasn't even the late 90s. He didn't do a lot after. He tried a comeback that like in the 2000s that only lasted one season.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know he directed a documentary, I believe. But yeah, he went quiet for like decades.
Yeah, and I remember Leslie Nielsen doing a bit as Donahue. Remember Naked Gun 33 and a third? I think
Mhm.
Phil Donahue's hosting the Oscars.
But that's sad. Goodbye
Yes.
to Phil Donahue. The secret film this week was your choice,
Mm-hmm.
and you chose the 1969 Italian film Medea, directed by Pier Paolo Pasolini.
Pasolini.
Do I know a Pasolini film?
Yeah, well, we did a review for the Criterion's Blu-ray release of Teorema, which
That's right.
might be my favorite. Well, my favorite film of his is Mama Roma, but yeah.
Why did you choose Medea?
Because it's
not to be confused with a Tyler Perry production, people. That's spelled Madea, and this is Medea, related to Greek mythology.
And the play by the tragedian Euripides, from the OG Woman Scorned. I chose it. It's the only film that starred Maria Callas, and I'm about to see and review Pablo Larraín's Callas, starring Angelina Jolie. So I felt I haven't seen this since I was 20. So it was time to.
I felt 6 years ago.
Yeah, I felt it was time to revisit it.
What is Medea about? After his quest to retrieve the fabled Golden Fleece, Jason returns to Greece with powerful sorceress Medea. However, when the king banishes her, it's only human that Medea plots her furious revenge. Can they escape her wrath? So you were, like many things, very curious about Greek mythology as a child. So you're very well informed. I'm the opposite. I feel about Greek mythology the way I feel about sci-fi stories, which is that I just don't like a lot of characters and places, specifically things that are not real. Like, just my brain has a hard time trying to remember like the name of a city or a person or a thing that's not like in actuality.
Mm-hmm.
And of course I could try harder, but I don't. So I'm like, I have like almost no knowledge of Greek mythology, because my dumbass yesterday was talking about Thor and Zeus being Greek.
Nope, that's Norse. You're mixing the streams.
Yeah, so I really don't know much, but I definitely didn't know the myth of Jason and the Argonauts. So this story, the way Pasolini presents it, is quite hard to follow if you don't know anything about anything, which I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna try to tell the story. So Medea, played by Maria Callas, is kind of like this witch. She's like the queen of her kingdom, and her kingdom is like it's it's an interesting place where they do like weird rituals and human sacrifices. Like a lot of savages live
Yeah,
there.
Colchis, but it's they're presented as kind of like a savage race.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Medea's home. That's where she's from. And one day, because she's like a witch, she has this vision of a beautiful man, Jason, who is going to come to retrieve this golden fleece. And there's a big backstory about the golden fleece, which we can get to, but she just knows that this man, well, because that's part of why I think this movie does not work. But um, she sees the vision of this beautiful Jason. And so she has the bright idea, well, I'm going to steal the golden fleece and give it to him, and then maybe he'll like me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what she does, and he does. And then he takes her to Greece.
Mm-hmm.
And they get married. They have 2 kids. They are together for 10 years. We really don't, it's not played out well in the film. This is just based off of a few, because you could almost say this is a silent film.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of dialogue. But at a point in this new area, this new kingdom they're in, Jason meets Glaucia. I love that name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least the way it's being said.
And
Glaucia.
she's played by Margaret Clementi, the wife of Pierre.
A beautiful lady.
Mm-hmm.
But Glaucia's the princess of this kingdom, her father being the king.
King Creon, yeah, played by Massimo Garotti, who was the patriarch in Teorema.
But Jason decides to leave Medea for Glaucia. And we don't really see any of this transpire or develop. It just happens one day. So, of course, that's messed up. And to make matters worse, the king is like, well, I can't have my new son-in-law's old bitch running around here. So I'm going to banish her and her kids from my kingdom.
Well, he says, you scare me.
Yeah. And well, yes. And even more importantly, the king says, you scare me. So they're about to banish her. And Jason is like, well, I guess we had a good run. So
she asks for one day,
yes,
to prepare for her exile,
to get her affairs in order. And she has a vision that she basically curses the princess and kills her.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see that she gets one last confrontation with Jason. Like, I thought we were good. How can you do this to me? And he couldn't be colder towards her. Basically, like,
he's like, you only wanted me for my body.
Right. So I don't, like, screw you.
Mm-hmm.
She's begging. He's like, no. But then we cut to them having sex. Like, it's very jarring. And then it seems like he's happy with her again. And the kids are there. So they witnessed, the kids know they were banished by the king and that their dad didn't do shit. And then they also witnessed, like, post coitus, everyone's happy. And the dad is like, I love my children.
Mm-hmm.
And so Medea says, well, no hard feelings. I'm excited that maybe you got me pregnant and I can have another one of your babies. I want to give a gift to Glaucia, your new bride, your bride to be.
I'll Tino Shea, give her this outfit.
Yes. And that's what it is, an outfit and a bunch of jewelry. Mm-hmm. And so Jason grabs his 2 kids and runs off all happy to give Glaucia this gift. And she takes it, and everyone's a little dubious, and the king is very concerned about it.
Her handmaids are like, you shouldn't take this.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't take that shit. Glaucia's dumbass, like, runs to go put the outfit on. Literally runs, like someone's chasing her. She can't wait to put it on. And then clearly it's cursed because immediately she and her dad, it shouldn't be funny, but it was.
Yeah.
She and her dad make a break for it. They just start running like Forrest Gump and jump off of a building on the side of a cliff. And we see them just, like, plunge to their deaths. So the king and princess are dead. Okay, so then Medea, after she got that little bit of revenge, she does one better. And this lady bathes her 2 children, stabs them to death, and lays them down into bed, and then lights the house on fire.
Yeah.
While Jason is outside screaming, like, please don't do that. Like, let me at least bury them and see them one last time. And what are her final words?
So I love the end, but she says she's screaming, "Nothing is possible anymore."
Nothing is possible anymore. Okay, here's the thing. So I knew nothing about Medea, like nothing about nothing.
Okay,
This is like the
this is not where to learn it.
well, no, but this is the story of a woman scorned.
Yeah,
Like this is the archetype for that idea, right?
yeah. Hell hath no fury.
Right. The way this shit is presented is so weak. I wrote down this feels like a boring ass soap opera, and then just to someone else on Rotten Tomatoes said it perfectly as to how I feel about this film, and I probably should give this person credit. It's Sean Axmaker from Turner Classic Movies Online.
Mm-hmm.
He, because I can see his picture and I'm assuming identifies as male, he says Pasolini strips the play down to symbolic, almost abstract expressions of scenes and ideas, like the cinema equivalent of hieroglyphics. And that's exactly how I felt after I finished this film.
Yeah, if you don't know, again, I had a very clear reason for watching this with you now, but yes, I don't think if you don't know anything about anything beforehand, this is not the place to start with.
Well, I'm glad you had us watch this because it does make me want to watch. So apparently there are other versions. One in particular, well, two in particular speak to me. One is Lars von Trier
With Udo Kier as Jason.
and the other is one with Isabelle Huppert.
Which I've never seen. It was a 2001 made for television
You
film.
haven't seen either.
No, but the Von Trier one you can get a hold of. I've looked in vain for a copy of the Huppert one from 2001.
If anyone can get us a copy of Isabelle Huppert's Medea, our PO box is listed in the description of this episode.
Do you know how I first? Because as a kid, I was obsessed with Edith Hamilton's mythology. Like that, like blew my mind open in 1992 when I was in second grade. And you know, it was a gateway drug. I didn't really. Medea didn't crystallize in my mind until probably 2 years after that, when I became obsessed with Sigourney Weaver, and I ran across somebody writing about how Sigourney would be a great Medea, and I remember asking my mom, "Who's Medea?" I remember the first time I heard the name, and I became immediately
What year would
fascinated.
this have been?
This would have been like 95.
95.
Yeah.
Who is Medea?
And my mother explained it to me, and then I became obsessed with it. And then I had all of the plays by Euripides and Sophocles, and who's the other one? Aeschylus. Anyway,
well, here's the problem for me. This woman, first of all, that tired ass relationship of theirs, they don't even present. This film should. So this is how the film starts. We see Jason as like a 2 or 3 year old being spoken to by some centaur.
Played by Laurent Terzieff. Yes.
So we get,
which is essentially exposition.
Yeah, basically. My God,
but not very good.
Basically explaining that Jason's dad used to be the king, but he was removed from power by his half brother, who's like a tyrant, and to protect Jason because his like half uncle probably would have killed his ass, they sent little baby Jason to go live with this centaur. So then the opening of the film is like 10-15 minutes of this centaur explaining Jason's life to him, and we see Jason as like a toddler, like a 13-year-old maybe, and then
as Giuseppe Gentile,
the Olympic jumper,
who's very handsome.
So because I knew nothing, I'm thinking, oh, this movie is about Jason, even though it's called Medea. So, I mean, I think we spend way too much time. Like, who cares who Jason is? This is about a woman scorned. The man is just a symbol of her heartache.
He's just a seed.
So I wish we would have, because really what this is to me, not knowing anything except what I think this movie's about, is about a woman who had power, who was independent, who had a life and a space and a people and a community. And then this love, like this intense love and romance with this man, drew her, like led her astray to a place where, because when Medea gets to Greece, because I guess her witchery involves like being connected to like nature or Mother Earth. But
Dionysus, yeah.
but in Greece, she can't. She says, "I can't feel the earth," so her powers are like diminished.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very symbolic that
Mm-hmm.
this relationship like stripped her of her power, and then she bears these children. She makes this life with him, and then he just leaves her for another woman. And Medea is so mad that not only did she kill the new bitch, but she killed her children to cause pain to her man.
Mm-hmm.
That should feel intense. It should feel like the rage, the representation of the rage, the audience. We should see this relationship build and everything she sacrificed. But this movie just feels like the filmmaker is just preoccupied with like the
Maria
few,
Callas.
yeah, preoccupied with Maria Callas, like just wanting to show her on screen. Clearly, a work went into the set designs and the production of
It,
the costumes.
I love how it looks.
So I think that the filmmaker was more concerned about all that than demonstrating how much this woman lost and how much pain and rage she felt
Mm-hmm.
in order to do what she did.
Yeah.
This movie just plays it out like, I mean, the fact that, and maybe you know more based on the actual writings, but Jason, I mean, he kind of had a point. Like, you seduced me, like you tricked that, because Medea, the way this movie shows it, she tricked Jason, right? Like she knew he was coming, she set it up like a trap so she could meet him. He's a very attractive man.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, it's like you were using me and you duped me and like into meeting, and then I built this life with you. I mean, he did kind of do her dirty, letting the king just manage her and the kids,
Oh,
but
well, yeah, he does. He definitely does her dirty.
he
It
does.
it feels kind of softened in this version as opposed to like the play,
Right.
where it's just like, oh, she's given up
That's what
herself.
I'm asking.
She's
Yeah.
given up herself and her power, and she's a traitor to her people, right? And she's going to be banished. She has nowhere to go. She can't go back home.
It feels like the filmmaker doesn't understand. I mean, I don't know Pasolini that well. I'm assuming he was an intellectual, and
Very, yeah.
I'm not casting aspersions on his ability to understand the story, but it feels like whomever made this movie didn't appreciate what this character of Medea represents more than just like, I want Maria Callas in my movie and I'm going to craft something around her that is like in the most flattering light. It's hard
Yeah.
to say what anyone's acting abilities are, because the way these kind of films are dubbed,
Yeah.
because they're performed, I'm assuming, in Italian,
Mm-hmm.
and then the dialogue is in Italian, but of course nothing matches.
Right.
So it's hard to say, like, did Maria Callas even have the acting ability to pull off a woman who was scorned? Because she just looks very, I mean, it's a very one note visual performance.
Yeah, I mean the fact, because even in there's a really beautiful box set from Criterion about, which has I think 9 films of Pasolini's in it.
Oh, is that what you had to watch this?
Yeah, and it looks great. But even the essay about the film in that insert is about how Callas has the greatest performance in Pasolini's work, and I have to disagree by a long shot, especially compared to Anna Magnani in Mamma Roma, which is
Oh yeah,
fantastic. But or Silvana Mangano in Tirima, who I also really like. But yeah, I think that he's obsessed with her. I think Callas was a very difficult, an interesting woman who wasn't necessarily a friend of the gays, even though she became incredibly close with Pasolini,
who was a
making,
known homosexual,
who's very a flagrant homosexual, and
did inappropriate things. I
did
was
he?
reading about him.
Oh well, you know,
He got in
he
trouble
like young boys, I think.
Yeah, he got in trouble for that shit.
Yes, and then he was murdered.
Well, you know,
and with people having speculated that was like a tricks and trade scenario gone wrong. But he was all, yeah, he was an intellectual. But this is the last of what's considered his mythic quartet of films. And I haven't watched Pigsty in as equally long time, and I remember not loving it, but I should rewatch that too. But I prefer Oedipus Rex, which of course is based on Sophocles, Greek tragedy, and also with significant template for dysfunction. But yeah, I don't know. I think I like almost everything about the film except her.
I mean, sure.
You
I
know,
can name other things I didn't like, but sure.
well, it was shot in Turkey. I think it looks. I love how it looks, and I really like the fire. The last like 2 minutes of film I think are fantastic, and it kind of leaves us on a precipice that nothing else in the film kind of brings us to.
I really didn't like the camera work. It's real shaky, and
He's
I think the set design is impressive for what I'm assuming was, limited resources, but
he's using a different cinematographer than usual. It's Ennio, what's his name? Guarnieri,
guano.
Guarnieri, who wasn't somebody he worked with as much. He wasn't his usual cinematographer.
I I that centaur
I didn't need
looks
him.
so damn crazy, and
That man had nice teeth, though, for his very thin face. Oh, you know what's funny is I just watched The Passion of Beatrice in the Locarno Film Festival. It's a documentary by Fabrice Duwels, who's a filmmaker I really like. But he, you know who Beatrice Dahl is,
yeah,
who is an
from
actress
inside.
from Inside and Betty Blue, which we covered that Criterion Blu-ray, which I remember you really liking as well.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, I like the man in that too. What was his name?
Jean-Hugh Anglade, I think. But anyway, I've loved Beatrice Dahl forever, but she's also a little bonkers. But that's part of her appeal in my mind. So she is obsessed with Pasolini, like more than I am with Sigourney Weaver, probably like
Like
obsessed.
Eminem with Mariah Carey.
Uh, I think his love for Mimi was very short lived. But anyway, uh, so in 2022, she went on this trek through Italy to cover all the ground of Pasolini from his birthplace to death to several very famous locations where he shot films, notably The Gospel According to St. Matthew. Beatrice is crying in almost every scene. In exaltation, it would seem like she's damn near sobbing. They're going around talking to these people. Her Italian doesn't seem the strongest, so it's also being translated to her, and she's just sobbing.
I bet she would have made a good Medea. She could be hysterical
Oh
and
my
enraged.
God, yes. But she talks about a Callus in that, but she just is obsessed with Pasolini, and but in a way I kept wanting to turn away because I'm like, this is too much. Like I don't really want to watch her fangirl like that because I thought it was really uncomfortable, and I didn't quite understand the point of it. But that's something to see when it comes out. But yes, I did think that too. I think she would be, uh, or I guess would have been a
I,
formidable Medea.
I'm looking at pictures of her co-star Jean-Hugh Anglade
Hmm.
from Betty Blue. He was very handsome, but he reminds me. When I'm looking at these pictures, I'm thinking if Adrian Brody had rhinoplasty.
Ooh,
I think Adrian Brody's very handsome too, but he looks like that.
yeah, they could play brothers.
Okay.
You need to see. Speaking of John, yeah, Queen Margot with Isabella Johnny, I really like.
The opening of so then we get to, so after the centaur's done rambling on, then we get to Medea's little kingdom where they're having these weird rituals, and then we get this long scene with all these people, and they have this like really like good looking young man who they're taking somewhere, like clearly
The sacrifice.
a sacrifice, but
Mhm.
he looks just dumb and happy,
Yeah,
smiling everywhere. He looks so happy, and I thought it was funny that because it's a long scene with a long trek, and every time we see him he's smiling, and then when they finally put his ass up on the thing to string him up, he starts acting hysterical. Like,
like what did you think was happening?
where did you think you were going?
They have a little bouquet around his crotch.
Yeah, they have like a bouquet on his head, and then they have the same bouquet like shoved into his crotch, like, okay. But they kill him by, they string him up like Jesus, but then it looks like they snap his neck with a big log,
Yeah.
and then they cut his ass down and dismember him
Hmm.
and drain his blood into these bowls for all of the spectators to take. And then it looks like this ritual was to help with the harvest, so
Hmm.
all of the spectators are taking his blood and like like washing the plants with it.
Yeah, they are. And I think I said, oh, weren't these people happy when somebody finally learned how about agriculture?
You also said that this is what that Wagyu beef dish from Chubby Cray made you feel like.
Yes, when they're pouring the blood into the cups, I'm like, oh, that was that beef bowl.
There's a scene where Medea runs over some hot coals, and I was reminded of
Didn't she say she's going to worship, like she's going to church?
yeah, and I was reminded of people should, after they're done listening or watching this, they should get on YouTube and look up Oprah hot coals.
Oh
Do you
God.
remember when she did an episode with Tony Robbins, that motivational speaker with the really big mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and he would do those like ceremonies where he'd have the people like run over the hot coals
Mm-hmm.
because it's like mind over matter type nonsense. And so they're like 3 to 4 minute clips of Oprah doing it.
Oh God.
And then you should also Google Oprah's feet because she has some bad feet. She has bunions and contractures and
Poor thing. Yeah.
flat feet. And then so thinking about those feet running over those hot ass coals. And then he's telling her, like, I want you to say yes 3 times. And she's so enthusiastic about things. And
Yeah.
she's like, yes, yes. And then she's wearing what looks like highly flammable textiles. Because it looks like silk polyester blend, like rayon. I don't know what it is. But she runs over the coals and, of course, does not die. But then
reminds me of Smash Mouth, too, for some reason.
But then after you look up Oprah's feet and Oprah running over hot coals, then you have to look up how Tim Robbins did one of those where 30 people were badly injured. And so you see all these, like, because of course then all the people want to sue his ass, and then you see all the pictures of their burned up feet. But anyway, made me think of that.
Well, Maria Callas, doesn't she tells her handmaidens, get me ready. And then the next thing we do is see her screaming as she's.
This narrative is so disjointed, and the scenes just feel so like when like people trying to shove a circle into a square. Like, I'm just gonna make this is gonna fit right here.
Yeah,
I have to say, Maria Callas is a beautiful lady, but
she is striking.
And I don't know how long this production took, but when we first meet her, mainly because they're all outdoor scenes, so it's like the sun is directly on her.
Mm-hmm.
Her hair color is a nightmare. She has hot roots and banding, which would lead me to believe she colored her own hair. And seeing as how she was seen as like a difficult, particular lady,
Mm-hmm.
it would make sense that she probably colored her own hair because she thought no one else could do it right, even though it looks horrible. Because she's clearly very gray. So her roots look like light brown. And then because she does not coloring it properly, the next stretch of growth is very dark because she overlaps. And then, so the hair that we see like around her face is her actual hair. And then she has those little like tendrils hanging from her temples. And those are like almost blonde. It looks horrible. But then the rest of her hair is clearly a piece. And then as the film goes on, where it's mostly interior shots and it's quite dark, then her hair just looks black. But I was surprised that they didn't figure that out for her better.
Well, maybe they didn't know the resolution would be so great that we'd see all those
Or
things
actually,
eventually.
that's probably a good point.
But I think it's interesting to note that she had just been left by Onassis for Jackie Kennedy. So
she's a very interesting life.
And she also had lost her voice.
Yeah.
So the very Mariah Carey-ish part of her life.
Well, she found it again when they hit play at that concert that I went to.
Oh, yes. Mariah, yes. But Maria didn't get to have that experience again. So I think she was, at this point, kind of bitter and sad. And she died of a heart attack just a few years after this. But
she was only like 54 or 53.
Yeah, she also had like extreme weight loss in her 30s. So I think she was probably pretty hard on her body. But she was a difficult person. She didn't want to do this film. That she'd been approached to do it by Carl Theodor Dreyer and declined. And that the script that Dreyer had was used for the Lars von Trier version, I believe. So Pasolini finally got her to do it, but this was after she lost her voice.
The Golden Fleece.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? A favorite of mine as a childhood from childhood is Jason and the Argonauts, this 1963 movie. I think you dig.
Oh,
That might be worth watching.
I
But
thought the Golden Fleece looked really cool, but it's being kept in this like tower that's like in this structure, walking up like a steep hill,
mhm.
and Medea steals it very easily.
Well, she gets help though.
She does get help, like some guys come and like,
She goes and commandeers some young handsome man, and then she's like, "Help me steal this fleece." They do. She gets it in the cart and goes off with Jason, and then she murders that man. She decapitates him.
well, she decapitates him because the people are following her, and she
Mhm.
knows that because the person she killed, I think, was like, well, she knew that those people, if they saw a dismembered body, they would want to take it and use it. Like they're not
Mhm.
going to leave it.
Yeah.
So she was like, well, this buys us a few hours.
Yeah.
But it was, I think that scene's funny, not the decapitation, but the stealing of the golden fleece, because she walks all the way up there,
Mhm.
tries to take it, can't do it, gets some little snacks to come help her, walks all the way down. And then we see the people who I guess are in charge of watching it finally show up, like
Mhm.
these women. And when they see it's gone, they like flip their shit. And it's like, well, I mean, you
Who is standing guard?
who is standing guard? Who is monitoring this very important artifact?
To
Like,
your culture?
okay, Medea has a wet nurse who you pointed out very accurately looks like Stevie from Schitt's Creek. What's that actor's
Emily
name?
Hampshire.
She was
does.
kind of mouthy with Medea
She
too.
was, yeah.
So that was a highlight.
Mhm.
Just to give people some inside or insight into how we watch movies, there's a moment where some kids are eating watermelon, and then and then I'm like, oh, was like, well, like was watermelon around during what the seeing the watermelon prompted me to ask Siri if Greek mythology is real.
Oh man.
And so then Siri's telling me no, Greek mythology is not real.
But watermelons are,
But watermelons are.
and were not invented
That's
by the
the kind of
Greeks.
nonsense that if you were watching a movie with us, you would hear. So again, the organization of the story. So Medea has a vision of Princess Glaucia, and then knowing that she's like stealing her man, and then she sends her these like cursed garments, and those garments cause Glaucia to burst into flames.
Mm-hmm.
But then we realize like, oh, that was just a vision.
Mm-hmm.
So then we end up seeing
The
her
same exact
do the
thing.
exact same thing like 10 minutes later, except instead of bursting into flames, she jumps off the building. I just thought that that was not, yeah, the organization and the editing just don't
Well,
do this film any
in
favors.
one sense, it makes it cements how kind of consumed she is with this, like just death is on her mind and murder and vengeance. But to the viewer, it's like, oh, okay.
Okay, then the way the film, like Jason drags Medea, talking
Mhm.
about I didn't want you and you ain't shit and blah blah blah, and I don't care if you get banished, to immediately sleeping with her. And I wonder if the way the story is actually told, because for a second I thought, did she use magic on him to make him sleep with her? The film doesn't say that or show that,
No.
but it just feels so abrupt.
It does, but it also lulls him into a sense of like she's in her place and she's fine.
And then why did he not care about his kids with her?
Well,
Because he was also running around with them like he loved them so much. Why didn't he not care that they were going to be banished with her?
but they're also keeping him back from a certain status as like a prince.
Why did Glaucia, when she got those, like in reality, when she got the gift from Medea, why did she run to go put them on? She looked like she was scared.
Well, maybe that's the curse. I don't know if
Maybe it's the curse.
that's Pasolini saying like she's compelled, to do it. But
So Medea has these two kids who look like maybe they're like 3 and 10 or something.
mm-hmm.
Well, I guess would make sense because they've been married 10 years. But then there's this older boy, like this handsome blonde who maybe is like, what, 16?
Yeah, and he's like looking after the boys.
I thought that was odd. They have a and then as they're being killed, so before Medea grabs her children to kill them, the three of them are sitting with the older blonde boy and they're playing music. and
That doesn't match.
the music does not match what the scene feels like, because it sounds like
Pasolini's used to, well, it sounds like Japanese, and I think that was on purpose because he liked Mizoguchi.
Well, please don't. And the little sound effect I made was not trying to be
Ooh,
Japanese.
but that was a deliberate choice by
yeah,
Pasolini.
that was awkward. But
you've seen the clips of the murders in Alice Diop's Saint Omer, which we reviewed
yes,
in 2022.
Okay. My final note is I feel like someone like a Ryan Murphy should do a series of like Greek mythology, but make it like primetime soap opera trashiness.
Like Dynasty?
Yes, like every episode is a different sort of character from Greek mythology and all the messiness and drama. Because that's what Greek mythology seems like to me.
So instead of Who Killed JR, it's Who Killed Zeus?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Does that not sound like a good idea?
Oh yeah, it is messy. That they're Zeus is out there sleeping with all these women, even though he's got a wife and he's
I think that would. I mean, maybe someone will comment that there is some British series that is like that. I would be interested.
I mean, it's Greek mythology is incredibly influential in many ways that are too hard to count. But yeah, I mean, it's also a well that's worth returning to over and over again.
Well, that's all I have to say about this film. What would you give the 1969 film Medea?
2.5.
This film did not work for me. I'm giving it 2 out of 5. And I'm only, I mean, I thought this was a mess. Like if it weren't for the clear effort that was put into the production design, I probably give it a lower score.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just don't think this is the way to tell this story. They should have called it something else then. I don't know. Well, no, I don't even know what story this is telling. But yeah, I'm glad I did watch it, and thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, I'm glad you appreciated that.
Okay, so it's going to be a weird couple weeks because you're going to Venice.
Yeah.
And then the day you return, I'm leaving to go to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't even see you, I don't think.
Probably, I don't think so.
We're going to be ships or
passing in the night.
Passing in the night.
Yeah. But we still should be able to record stuff from afar.
So I think we should, depending on everyone's attitude, maybe we can record some stuff on Zoom. And
that's a dig at me, but okay.
Maybe I'll do a solo thing, or we'll see. But yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No.
All right. Ta-ta.